welcome everybody in the full house here in Berlin. Thank you so much. You will not be the guys who are sitting, at the Muppet Show, on the balcony. Those two guys. You will not be those two guys, right? Okay. Of course, a warm welcome to the people, joining us online. The strategic impact and role of network AI, cybersecurity, IX on meeting future digital demand in the region. So I hope that was fast enough for everybody, but it's a full sentence, and I really don't know who comes up with those kind of titles. Anyway, having said that, I'm very happy to have my senior experts with me, and I'll give them a minute actually to introduce themselves, say something about their company. And I'm going to start, of course, with Antonella from Sparkle. Ma certo.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Antonella Sanguinetti. I work in Sparkle. Sparkle is a global service provider. We are providing services, enterprise services, security, SD-WAN, everything that is part of this topic. And the question is, which region?
Exactly. So, Charles? Oh,
It would.
yeah.
Obviously, yeah. My name is Charles Karsten. My role is commercial director with Amsterdam Internet Exchange. Just a quick word about the AMSIX. It's an internet hub based out of Amsterdam. 30 years in business, one of the first internet exchanges in the world. Subsequently, we've been rolling out our businesses across the globe from Bay Area in the US to Hong Kong.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Welcome. Jimmy.
Yeah, so from Zaria, MVNO. We are slightly different to a lot of MVNOs in the fact that our sister company, Celicis, supplies a lot of solutions to carriers around the globe. So what we've done is we've taken and put them in our core network. So we're almost a network, which I think is unique.
Okay. Jimmy, Jan.
Hi, good afternoon. Jan Bakkes from IDC. IDC is one of the world's leading research and consultancy firms in the field of basically any ICT market you can think of. Within our European infrastructure and telecom, I lead our wholesale and enterprise connectivity research.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to you as well. Paolo?
Yeah, it's Paolo. I'm responsible for the service provider in Europe, and I'm working for Cato Networks. Cato Networks is a leader in the SASE market, and I'm very proud always to say that we have created the SASE market, or even Gartner created SASE with a cloud native converged security networking model.
Okay, thank you. And going from SASE to another, also SD-WAN, SASE, what have you, one of the...
For sure. Experio.
I think one of the Dutch companies which exploded and become to $1 billion company over the last 20 years. Congratulations, Ernst. Floor is yours.
Yeah. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ernst Koolmeijer. As product director, I work at Experio. I'm responsible for what we call our intelligent internet platform. So I'm on the platform side of things, heavily focusing on the customer journey. Experio managed a global connectivity provider. We deliver intelligent internet. We deliver SD-WAN, of course. 2 enterprises, 2 carriers across 190 countries.
Out of the 193 countries in the world.
That's it.
So when are those 3 countries coming on your network?
I expect soon.
Okay, fantastic. Jan Hein, if I may go to you immediately and then go into the discussion. From your point of view, what's the role of the network in the enterprise digital?
Well,
where do you see it?
It's absolutely critical. I think it basically it underpins each and every aspect of a digital business, and enterprises progress on the digital journey. That importance can only increase. So that's the theory. However, in practice, we're seeing that that's not always the case. So too many times we've seen that enterprises basically come up with a new digital initiative only for the network to basically fall behind on that, only to become involved when it's well, basically when the performance starts down. Think about let's say a video conferencing system a couple of years ago. It was rolled out without involving the network. And once it had been rolled out, it wasn't working properly. So really the advice to enterprises is to basically include team in each and every initiative from day one.
Okay, Paolo?
Yeah. Well, from my point of view, the network will play a critical role in digital transformation. However, will be a new kind of network. It's not what we were used to think about, the high-speed private interconnection branch to data center, because transformation is bringing a lot of challenges and changes in the architecture. If you think about application center are moving to the cloud, you have a hybrid workforce working from home. So already at the basic, you have a network where there are no more application, neither users. So you have to think differently. On top of that, with the digital transformation, you have faster geographical expansion, you have a lot of merger and acquisition. So you need a different model that federates security and networking. All that ideally delivered based model. Why? Because now it's no more of securely connecting branch to data center. It is securely connect any user, any device to the cloud application. SASE is taking off now. Gartner is expecting more than 60% of the enterprise by 2028 they choose SD-WAN now to move a converged SASE model, because it's the way to adapt to this digital transformation, to avoid all the complexity. If you try to implement the network and the security with a legacy approach of having a pile of devices, your castle remote, protecting a network a legacy network that nobody uses anymore. So you have to swap, you have to change paradigm and have something that is delivered from the cloud to the user to secure the access to the application.
So can I give you an example? So should it be for the audience? So in the old days, the records, right? And you had an amplifier, you had a pickup, you had the thing for your cassette deck, right? And now you have Spotify. Is that resembles what I can tell you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it was a good time when we have the rack, because we were spending a lot of time.
Hey, it was the best time.
Exactly.
It was the best
It was
time.
the best time.
I still have these cassettes. I still have, and everybody probably, the not so young guy, and also the guys from the Muppet Show over there, they must have it as well. But it was a great.
Wait, I would love
just to buy that record and wait for that record to come. But please go on, Paolo.
But behind there was a lot of complexity. If you were moving your Wi-Fi system, was a lot of cabling, complexity in troubleshooting where it was not working, in operating. And this is happening now with the network piling security and network functionality given by different products. That's why Spotify Live, deliver from the cloud, converged, simple to manage, simple to deploy, simple to operate, is the answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my comparison was what it is. Ernst, I saw you, Nicky, when about the challenges in the architecture, and but what can you elaborate on this one?
Yeah, I think from Xperio's side, if you look at SD-WAN solved the performance and connectivity challenge. SASE and SASE, and they solved the security and access challenge. So from our perspective at Xperio, it's a natural evolution. It's bringing together, of course, networking and security, closer, and that's a good thing. And it's more and more managed as one use. So that ties back to the platform again, right? So from my role, I try to create that visibility and control. And what I hear from the enterprises I work with, they really need that to do, let's say, a proper inventory management, to network management as well. Fragmentation is everywhere. Trying to bring and manage it, not only the underlay, but also the overlay. It's really valuable.
All right. Antonella, how do you fix this in Sparkle? How you do this? I mean, all these guys can say whatever they want, network as a service, and but you're the operator.
That is exactly from there. I mean, I could echo that the network is not anymore as it was in the past. It's just point to point, very static. Now there are the endpoints are
The good old days. Sorry.
so now the endpoints are dynamic and are everywhere. So there is not just a fixed model. If you consider then that even the network itself is not more hardware, is virtual now. So you have piece of functions here and there, and you needed to connect them dynamically. Last requirement is AI. I mean, we cannot avoid talking about that. There is AI for networking, optimizing, but there is also networking for AI that has very stringent requirements in reliability. So what's the network that we are seeing? Where are we going? We are going towards a more reliable network. So if today we have 99959, it should be 8 nines, because if you have an agentic AI taking...
That's nice SLA on paper, but we will always have outages, left or right.
Yeah.
And people pick, it was, in this case, it was not us, Sparkle. No, it was now, right?
Yeah, of course.
Or it was this, even in
This
your
is
own
where-
group.
And
No?
this is where the blockchain-based service level agreements come into the picture, because
Exactly.
in the future, there will be no way to escape from the responsibility.
No.
But jokes apart, so as how Sparkle is working to address this evolving, of course, super hard work, AI optimized. We are working a lot with tools, AI-based, in order to anticipate the problems rather than reacting to them, and then implement the service, because which is easier to say than to implement, but there is also a lot of expectation that while the rest of the applications and points are very dynamic, also the network is. So we are changing the way how you consume the network. And then we could go back to the discussions this morning. This is through APIs. Our API secures, are covered. So there are many aspects that the network as a service model, but we are addressing it step by step. An evolutionary approach.
No, and on the other hand, Sparkle has also a huge advantage. Also, although you have your challenges, but I mean, a lot of people, they just lease, things on to consortiums and whatever. You own your C cables, your optical cable. You have it by your own. Challenge is bigger, but you can provide in a faster way to have a better client. Yeah, how should I say it? Acceptance, actually, is higher. That advantage you have.
No, definitely having our 600,000 kilometers.
Only
Of
600,000.
we typically joke that because we are more or less 600 employees, and then we say we have 1,000 kilometers each. So that helps in assuring the quality of the core network, but is only through our good relationships and partnerships that we can complete the network, because the partnership, for instance, in the access network, we would do nothing.
No.
So it's a lot. What I like on this business is it's a lot of partnership job and agreement jobs and bilateral. I mean, are working to our Experio colleagues, and this is what I like of the fact that we somehow, in order to do an end-to-end service, you need to be federated, and this is where the beauty is of selecting for you for the specific service.
Okay, so staying a little bit on the connectivity side, and then I come to you, Jimmy. Charles, I mean, nothing can be done without you guys, about an IX. If there is no IX, we are, right? So you play a major role, and knowing that the Amsterdam Internet Exchange, or AM6 as we call it, and we are fortunate to have 4 Dutch guys here in the in the panel. So no, but I mean, you were starting. A lot of people and a lot of IXs copied you, and you are still one of the biggest guys, the biggest hubs out there. So how do you contribute? How does contribute to, let's say, the network globally we're in, and how do you make that on your SASE system, so your security, because you have to, of course, provide software and say security as a service, right? How do you do this?
Yeah.
It's interesting. We were talking about all the new technologies, and we had a real operational rubber hits the road incident this morning with one of the largest networks on our platform. Was a human issue with the networks, and it's still happening. So we can talk about all these technologies, but hey, it's people, it's technology as well.
That was my thing about the 8 nines. Actually, the comment,
No,
of course not.
So we've got in Amsterdam, we've got about 1,000 networks. Having said that, we have indeed a global network of IXs across regions. The interesting thing about the network, just wanted to resonate on that, is also in the context of AI, because we're getting continuously questions from, you can imagine, these 1,000 networks coming to us talking about AI and security as well, is that there's one key thing, I think, which is very important in the network, which is in the context of AI. And latency is not an option anymore. It's crucial to ensure that it's really working, because you can increase the capacity of your compute, but at the end of the day, you got to move the data back and forth, right? And there's some indicators surrounding that, and it's very important that the network with IXs is evolving as well in that context. So what we see is you have the larger IXs. So you see, like in the FLAP countries, right? You've got the DKIX, you've got the French IXs, the bigger ones, but more and more smaller IXs are to cater towards that latency, to cater to these services, which needs to be executed right there. And I see that needs to happen. I think the entire architecture next to the technologies, solely basing your architecture on data center hyperscalers or the global cloud backbone. You do need more exchange across the globe to so-called. So not a full transformation, but that's what we're looking at, and we're developing as well.
Okay, cool. Jimmy?
Really good point. So one of the first things Zariat did when I joined was we had GSMA's IoT Safe, which essentially is security encryption to the edge of the cloud. And we were thinking, actually, some people don't want to use the cloud. Some people want to use the data center. So we looked at another option. So we've added options now, so you can pick and choose. They all work similar to IoT Safe. We can go on the certification, but they use different IP offerings. And one of them we were talking to just the other day was they do full end-to-end encryption. They're one of these companies that in Silicon Valley has got 30 patents in 4 years or something. So they came to us, and we liked them because they do two things. One, we enabled their technology, and it's full end-to-end from device to device. There's no call to hack and get everybody's keys. They're only on the edge, but because it's point to point, they could add it on an AI as well. So it's not just cellular. So it helps us when we go to sell, because if it's a mixed estate and you've got some Wi-Fi over there, LoRaWAN router over there, we can pull them all under the one umbrella, security umbrella. I should name the sign actually, but can do the same with AI. So what we were seeing is they're suggesting meshing the AI, so moving it out towards the edge, and we've been working with them to enable that, and they've done really well. They've just announced some a partnership with Google and Oracle Cloud and AWS to be absorbed on that. But that sort of level of security, especially across of connectivity, I think that's how you can address an enterprise's real needs, because then it's the laptop, the server, the phone, the guy's van.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And by the way, with FLAP, not everybody knows it, but it's Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, Paris to stay in the stay in the region. I mean, For us, probably audience or online might think, hey, what flap? Is that a name of a rabbit? I mean, in the Netherlands, we know floppy, but it is just to make that clear. So if going a little bit deeper, what are the key technologies underpinning the network, the transformation? So the SASE, the SD-WAN, 5-6G, you know, satellite we were mentioning, which have it a bit easier, as we know, and also how to integrate 5-6G services and the secure plus trusted service environment. So here you go. You have half an hour to explain it to us.
I'll try to do it a bit quicker than that. So at IDC, when we look at the future network, we basically distinguish between 4 key technology segments that need to be. It's a hybrid underlay, SD-WAN, security, and the one you didn't mention, it's also cloud networking. In a survey we did last year of enterprises worldwide, cloud networking came out as the #1 connectivity priority. And when we say cloud networking, we mean connectivity to, between, and within the cloud. Key topic that we're seeing a lot of development to the cloud is often solved. Many have already done that. Connectivity within and between, a lot of things still to be done, we think. SD-WAN clearly, to a degree, I agree with the speakers to the right of me. There's a shift towards integrating network security with it. So SD-WAN is basically giving way to SASE, often single, but also often best of breed. Seeing is that a lot of basically there's not one enterprise. So enterprises are very different in their needs, in their preferences, in their installed infrastructure. So
it's like an ice parlor in Sicily. You have all the flavors of ice cream, right? So
exactly.
Make their one taste out of it. Good luck.
Well, and
at least an orchestration layer.
And you have different people still that have different preferences. So
well, Nonna is always there.
So we are
behind the counter.
We are seeing a mix, basically, of both a single platform and best of breed. So that's the SD-WAN. And the final part of your question was relating to 6G. I think 6G is particularly from access perspective is still a while away. It's more first about, I think, making money from 5G. And then the other part was satellite, 5G and satellite. I think both they are there to complement fixed access. That's at least when I talk about a WAN environment, which
especially with LEO, low orbit.
Exactly. So that complements fixed technology. In some areas, it's basically it depends on the topology of the enterprise. If it's a rural location, then satellite clearly is a no-brainer and it fits well within the overall infrastructure. But clearly in other areas, it can be used for resilience. It's a part of the mix. It's at least in Western Europe, it's not the mainstay.
Okay, Ernst, you want to?
Really agree with that, of course. You know, of that resilience, it's part of that diversity. But when I look at 5G from Experial perspective, I think, you know, we need, of course, global coverage, and we need standalone 5G SA, so we can apply that network slicing, and then you have your quality of service. You can directly implement that into your 5G network.
Use it for your backup as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But if we talk about, you know, fixed, I would say that when we have 5G standalone, you have that quality of service, you can guarantee that bandwidth and latency, then you truly have a substitute for DIA, for example, where fixed wireless access still is a broadband service. So that in the end, I think, and if you have that, I think with that, we can offer enterprises an opportunity basically to look differently at their site availability from that diverse.
So what's their advantage? Enterprises. What's the advantage for the end? For your product?
Yeah. It's not part. Yeah. Well,
No.
I think
that was it my brain or was it yours, Paolo? It sounded more like mine, right? It was a bit heavy. Sorry, Ernst. Sorry.
so. Yeah, I think it always, and that's a generic answer, depends on the use case, right?
Mhm.
If you are in a rural area, where then Leo, right? Then that's applicable. G, it's that resilience, right? It's having that true substitute for DIA. I think that's the selling point here.
Okay, and but by the way, yes, 6G will wait. I mean, but now listen. For instance, even in Italy, I have 5G. It's mentioned on my phone, but the signal and the connectivity is a bit different, right? È un po' diverso, no? Yes. Anyway, okay, can you come in on the network side?
Sure. So, the technology you named, of course, I'm coming from a SASE company. SASE is the key. But the reality is that in this new model, you have to remember that security has to be pervasive in the networking. Is no more, I have my network and I'm going to analyze the traffic only when I go to internet. In this new model, you have to analyze that constantly the traffic S to S, user to user, user to application. So you need to have this capacity of decrypting the traffic, analyzing for signature, for every transaction, every flow. And this is what is SASE essence, to secure everywhere. Now, if we consider or satellite, there are access technology that give you higher speed, that give you higher reachability, but at the end of the day are access technology that you have to secure. One thing that may be slightly different, and is coming is that we think a lot about replacing or being a backup of the DIA. What I'm seeing working with some of our service provider partner is that 5G is opening also the door to the IoT application and to real-time IoT application. Challenge is coming. I want to secure the traffic from a cloud platform on application that need nearly zero latency. I am discussing with a service provider in the Nordics on a project on predictive. You have two cars arriving to a crossroad. They on each other. They cannot see the other, but they exchange in real time the information about the traffic. How do you secure this traffic, guaranteeing the lower latency? And that is interesting. So from our perspective, what I see is, of course, we try to improve always the footprint in public POPs of structure. So to be the nearest as we can to the end customer. But for this kind of application, what we are doing now, we are creating what we call the private POPs. So we are extending our cloud straight into the infrastructure of the service provider, straight nearby the APN of the 5G network. So we reduce the minimum of the latency while we are able to secure all the traffic flows. And this is a new model that allows you to keep the cloud flexibility, minimizing the latency, also for this real-time application.
Okay, no, because that's absolutely because we don't want to have those two cars.
Discovering too late.
To blame then? Still the driver.
Just
still the human error. Please, Charles.
sorry, just to add that also enterprises should what you're just explaining is enterprises should really look at connectivity in that context in a different way, as opposed to being an IT back end function. You really need to look at as an enterprise like supply chain. So where, for example, the telemetry and all that stuff, placing your changes, your POPs there where it's happening. That means that you just need to look at that in such a way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Please. Yeah, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. The enterprise needs to have control, and I think that's something we need to look at. All of the technologies you mentioned there, if they're not used, then it's not doing any good. And to open APIs to allow developers to be able to see networks can actually do, then we'll be in a really good place, because we have all these API things. We've got camera and the initiative, which is suddenly gone out of my mind. But we have all these initiatives within telecoms, but we haven't told anybody about it. The developers don't understand it. They don't see the viability of it. And in some cases, the carriers don't want to release the information. I think we're really off, because all of the things you've mentioned are much better used if the end customer saw the value, because then it would force everybody into it. But until we get APIs working, until the developers got SDKs, the forums, and everything else they need to develop, it will use the full potential of the network we've already built. So the guys like you're going to have all this technology, but because nobody knows about it, it's not going to be used. But if you look at those, the really successful unicorn, it's because everybody latched onto them. There was probably 6 other companies who were equally as good, but just weren't as good at telling people they existed and didn't have as good APIs.
Communication and education, right? Anto?
Yeah, I see your point, and this is the final goal where we want to be with it. When we say network as a service, you need to monetize that, because the investment is huge, and you open to the network. Not just about communication, you need to be ready on all layers, from ordering, from quoting, ordering, and then delivering in a dynamic way. You need to have the business model ready, the legal aspects ready. So the reason why we are not doing yet is because, at least for Sparkle, the framework has to be mature, including the security of the APIs.
May I say, drop a curveball, and this is the way you were just describing it, and which is what it is. This is where all the hyperscalers and OTT crazy talking to operators, and because they said, guys, stop talking, let's move, let's act. And then they came along, left and right and over wherever, and then we were like, the operator side, hey, what's happening here? These guys are making a huge shitload of money, and we were sleeping again. So this is, sorry, but this is exactly what happened over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And we as operators and as network guys, we need to educate, and we need to be on the market, and we need to really push our target time to market, because otherwise there will be some other guys again waking up and saying, sleep on, I'll get the business and I'll monetize on it.
Absolutely agree with that. The only thing I would say, and I don't know, this is only my opinion before I get sued, but the only thing
we're only online. It's fine.
But the only thing I would say is, to me, it looked like we're doing a fantastic job of that. They bought a firm, they bought MetaSwitch, they bought that other company that has gone out of my mind. But where's that gone? The AT&T guys, they brought all those AT&T engineers as well. But everybody I know at Azure who worked in the telecoms now been let go. Into AWS's 5G. I mean, what we're saying is exactly what I've said. I'm contradicting myself with the APIs, by the way, but what I was saying is that those hyperscalers did have a go, and it's either a warning sign to us that it's really, really hard, or it's a fantastic sign to us. What we do is quite difficult, and maybe they'll leave that to us. So I don't know the answer. I think I've just asked a question rather than answer a question, but yeah. So I don't think it's.
Bye, Anto.
The good sign that I see is that in order to achieve that in the telco, even standardization bodies are speeding up. For instance, Sparkle.
Finalmente.
Sparkle is in the board member of MEF.
Yes, I know.
And which previously were mainly carriers, wholesaler. Now there are carriers, there are technology representatives, and there are services. And so this flow of information, this flow of communication is happening much faster. And so the developments of the NaaS platform, so it's not just an idea, it's something that is getting concrete based on the inputs of the enterprises, of the OTTs. So I think we are on the right direction there.
No, but I would say, as I just mentioned, finally, because it shook us up at least. I'm still afraid, and I come from an operator, and I will. Guys, come on. Come on, and guys like and Esperio, they came and said, oh, they even thought about this on the network. They didn't even think about this. Oh, I have my platform one. Oh, you know what? Bam, I can tuck, and any customer, okay, they just go on my platform. They see the connectivity, they can order it and see what's happening while it's ask this to an operator, ask this to Orange.
No, no. If you ask Sparkle and you go on our website, you will find the same.
That I know. That's why I
At the
didn't mention
better.
Sparkle. And I just gave you, in football, we said we give you the pass and everything.
Yes. No, of more complex and challenging for the ones who legacy. No, because legacy is a burden. I mean, is an asset, is very much value, but of course it requires a lot of effort to renew. I mean, if you are a new player, it's much easier to do, but that's the challenge.
Yeah, that is the same on 5G. Where was the first 5G implemented in the world? In the US? No. In Europe? No. Africa? For not
Korea, was it?
South Korea.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the 6G will take. Yeah, you know how long? 18 months from now, we have the first 6G network live, regardless if they made back, all the CapEx and OpEx for the 5G. Okay, that's the model what Nokia worked on with their cell phones. When we got the cell phones, everybody had the cell phone. If it was the banana or the 3110, the 21, whatever. And then, smartphone came. They were not selling that many devices anymore because I build them, I research development, I build them, supplied them. Now first we need to sell so many before that money comes back, and then we will. That's old school, guys. Those business models doesn't work anymore. It goes much faster. That's why Silicon Valley is faster than us, because they get the money from New York. We in Europe, we are sleeping, and we need to do something. We need to move up, step up.
I challenge you.
I know.
Sparkle, to be fast, we already have a product for quantum security. So we have been, just to show how.
I know your product.
So just to show you how fast we can be. Was the case that are following the OTTs.
So I have a CEO who knows exactly. Who knows exactly. And I know him. He knows exactly where it's going.
Yeah.
And he's a visionary in this one. And I'm really good to hear that.
Just to add that, sorry.
Yes, please.
There is just on a high level, there's a report, I think half a year ago, submitted by Mr. Draghi, Italian gentleman, about enabling more investments within the European context, right? Just showing the difference between Europe, US, where there's more liberty to invest and to fail fast and to go back. We don't have that in Europe, and expansions. That report is actually significantly better perceived now. And hopefully, this is quite a tall order to implement it. I believe he was talking about $800 billion of investment.
Only, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But obviously, given the tension we have right now, maybe that will unlock much more stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Good. All right, Jan, on the solutions, let's go there. What are the winning solutions? I mean, fixed mobile, for the enterprise, in this nice challenging landscape,
Yeah, I think I touched upon it earlier on. I mean, there is not one winning solution. I think a winning solution by definition, I'd say, is one that caters to the needs of the individual enterprise. But clearly, there are many different enterprises. So that gets of do-it-yourself. That is complexity drives demand for managed services. On the other hand, more sophisticated self-service tools move the other way around. A lot of it, at the end of the day, also comes down to the setup of a company. How much in-house resources do they have? What is the preference of the CIO or ultimately the CE? So at the end of the day, from my perspective, for a solution provider to be successful across a range of enterprise clients, I think you need to provide choice and composability, basically, to address the different needs of very different companies.
Okay. We have a French CIO, right? What's his name? Philippe? No?
Jean-Philippe.
Jean-Philippe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jean-Philippe. Yeah.
Afternoon.
Yeah. Is that sinking?
I
Or
think
do you have
so.
a different approach?
I think so. I do think indeed there's not one winning technology. It's about combining multiple technologies and creating one view to blend that. It's about also the levels, right? It's about that underlay foundation. It's about SD-WAN going to SASE, SSE, and then the cloud networking. It's about combining that all together.
Yeah, but if
and
we
that's,
have those building blocks all
yeah,
together,
it's-
we have it in the box.
Okay.
Are we ready then?
I think it's about the intelligent orchestration of all those buildings in a shared, open,
Which is software, which is not telco. And how do we how do we make that?
To Antonella's point, I think a lot of hard work has already been done, right? The life cycle, or the standards that are being defined in the MEF, right? So that is becoming a good standard. But I think standards alone are not enough, right? It's that new model that is built on full transparency. It's about interoperability, but it's also about, I think, shared accountability, digital experience. And there,
But I think we have a problem with opening up our networks a little bit, right? And sharing a little bit of information, right? As well. I will
we
not
don't
go-
have a network.
No. I will not. I'm not asking you that question, but it is not always easy. But Jimmy, you want to ask?
I was just going to say, I don't think it's a technology. I think it's a process. I think if we're collaborative with the enterprise, then we have a solution. It's not the technologies we've got.
But they are happier. They're more than happy.
The enterprises.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
they need to be
we need to
educated.
get more enterprises like yours. I think happy because they limit us. They pigeonhole us. They pigeonhole us in a hole that just says your connectivity, I'm not using you for anything else.
Mhm.
And that kills us in the end. So what we need to do is we need to expand out of that. We need to get uncomfortable, but we need to be in the conversations. If we're in the conversations, then we can say, actually, you're talking in your IP world about X, Y, Z. In telecoms, because we've been around for 100 years, ours is ABC, but it means that it's just a different way of skinning. So it have that conversation all the time. We try and draw it out of people. Our sales director, or he's our CCO now, he'll tell me off for that. But the first thing he did was come in with a question and say, if technology was no object, what would our connectivity do for you? But the amount of people went, I don't know, what could it do? And then nobody knows. 100 years. And they still don't know what we do. I mean, that's the good side of us is the 9/8 thing. And the reason that we are as an industry slow is because we test and test and test and test. And that creates a trust. So we have to find a middle ground where we keep that trust, because literally when we were growing up, we were your emergency call, wasn't it? You rung 999 or no, you didn't. You rung 112. But yeah, so
999 was something else.
Yeah. We've grown up with that, so we need to continue that. But we do need to tell people what we've got.
Yeah, but okay, Jimmy. But if I think back, I used to work, right? I used to be in charge of Europe and all the wholesale and whatever. And what we were doing, there was the data, so it's the connectivity, it was voice and SMS and whatever, and the trading. And if people ask me, hey Eric, what are you doing? Exactly, what are you doing? If we would have told them, or the stock exchange, yeah, buying and selling, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh yeah, then I get it. But we don't know how to tell our story. That's our biggest problem, one of our biggest problems. So I fully agree with you. We just sometimes have difficulties to be in the right way, to educate people and even to sell our services to enterprises. We must be better. industries, they do this far better. They do this far better. While, or WIST actually, they're using our services 24/7. Hold on. They use me 24/7. I'm always on, and they are always on my network, over my C cables, in my data center, in my whatever, using my IX, and I don't know, and probably I'm not for them. Maybe we as an industry should step up a little bit, because the guys from software and the gamers and whatever, everybody is running.
I think we talk in acronyms and they talk as an 8-year-old would understand it. I think that's the difference. But yeah, you're right. We do need to.
Well, I'm guilty on this one as well, because I do this more, writing all this shit and GPass and whatever terms, and so I'm here to blame as well, partly.
I mean, the reason it sounds easy is because of that AI thing.
Mm.
So we haven't actually, Celsius, our sister company, has a roaming now. So instead of
Yeah, I
having
know.
to set your roaming, you just
Yeah.
say, but it's complex. But if we start to take that down, exactly like, I forgot his name, on the previous panel, he was explaining and showed the AI. I think that's a massive advantage, because that can translate things so they're understandable. Even though it is a machine, it's better at explaining things in language that's simple than we are, because we've got blinkers on, we've got telco blinkers on, we can't see anything outside of the tunnel.
Mhm.
Whereas really we need to be talking to the people who are using it. But I do get it's complex.
I don't like to be blamed. So I think
I like to throw curveballs.
we have been as a service provider very in complexities, because setting down a cable from Genova to India, it's a huge complexity,
I know.
and managing it, operate it, is very complex and very expensive.
Jimmy,
But we have spent much effort in hiding this complexity to customers, and customers now perceive the network as a commodity. That's the fact. But I think to the overlay, I mean, the services like the one Paul was mentioning, SASE, SD-WAN, security features, quantum safe, everything, I think will help us giving much visibility on the value added of the network. So I think here we have an opportunity to get out of the commodity space and becoming the network intelligent. I was on a panel at ITW, and there it was highlighted the intelligence of the network. Networks are becoming more and more intelligent, adapting to the applications, adapted to the different layouts. So I think this is the moment to upsell what we are building, and maybe has been a bit neglected.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, guys. Please, Paolo. No.
Just to add a quick note about that. That's interesting, the discussion, above all when you are part of a vendor that sells OTT solution, because the question is, okay, I'm a service provider, I want to sell your technology, but at the end of the day, you are bypassing me. How I can on the market, how I can increase stickiness of my customer if I provide a cloud SASE solution, because it's not running on my network, it's going elsewhere over the internet, while you are using the capacity of the service provider. And that's why, and I was making the example of what we have built, launched as a product very recently, that is this private POP.
Okay.
The idea is that we want to extend our cloud within the service provider infrastructure, so that the service provider can add value on their network. It's no more just a transport, is a network. Okay, and we have already very with the Orange of this world, with the Adist of this world, and so on, is that if you do that, you will run the best SASE on the best network. And you will create additional value for your end customers. Because you can use your access network, the service provider access network, the hosted application of the service provider, the transit provider, while you provide SASE experience. And this is what I'm seeing is resonating with all the service provider I'm discussing with, creating this hybrid architecture where you the cloud, our cloud, with their infrastructure. So create a regional sovereign solution that can then scale internationally using our public cloud. So it's a mix. Instead of being in competition, is let's integrate, let's build an hybrid architecture when we can both create value.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So some positive points. I'm happy with that on the solution side. So I'm happy with that. And looking at the time, 4:45, I think the bar is open. So we're going to start with a closing round. Ernst, what is your takeaway for the audience?
Yeah, so listening to all my fellow panelists, I think what we need is that collaborative ecosystem where partners drive value and co-create through APIs, through automation, with the use of open standards. I think then it's about combining solutions and working together, and then it's about creating that experience. And that experience, in my opinion, will elevate that, let's say, command activity and combine it into, let's say, a more value add.
All right, Paulo?
For me, is the business model that is changing from vendor to service provider is partners.
Yes.
Being partners to address the market technologically with solution, but also with a commercial model, creating new licenses model to help the service provider selling the SASE solution, create network as a service, cloud delivered to
In an
be
intelligent
faster.
way, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a combination of OTT and infrastructure provider to improve, at the end of the day, the service for the enterprise customers.
Okay, Jan-Hein?
Well, I think there digital transformation without network transformation. We talked a lot. I think for service providers, if you want to use that word, there's a role basically to articulate the business value of the network, and practically that means there is an opportunity, I think, to help network managers who will typically view of the solutions make a business case that they can take to the board, because I think that's one thing that I haven't mentioned, but that is, I think, something that is still that needs to be done still.
Okay, Charles?
Yeah, I think the collaboration aspect which Ernst was bringing forward is very important. Us, as an exchange, being part of the entire ecosystem, we continuously, it's in our DNA as well as collaborate and partner. And we've seen some good instances that we progress significantly by combining technologies and partnerships and so on. So, and we continue to do that. We've been expanding our network through Milan. Spanix is upcoming, France IX, and that needs to continue. The other thing is what you see in the IX space. We are transforming from hub, like a roundabout, which is specifically to a service hub, which is more revenue generating,
Active, proactively.
and much more proactively, bringing all kinds of services like security services, anti-DDoS, and we recently launched in the market service exact time in the current situation. Geo-attention is very crucial, timestamping, etc. So there's a whole transformation going on, and we only can do that with partners and technology. We continuously are working with all the entities, with the bodies on IX APIs, technology partners to bring that forward.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, I just agree with that. I mean, collaboration and being proactive, definitely. Working in partnership, definitely. I mean, with IoT, you just take IoT or any of the transformation, there's so many different skill sets there. Nobody can do it all. So everybody around in this panel, they'd all have a part to play, as well as people in the enterprise, security people on top of that, lawyers. But if we can come together and work towards, we listen and actually hear what the final goal is, and we all work together towards that, and we don't try and hide our cards, then I think definitely right.
Antonella, famous last words and takeaway for this day. It's all on your shoulder now.
Yeah. So I would talk about trusted ecosystem, which means has to do with listen to customers, watching what's going on technology-wise, standardization, interoperability. I think these are the ingredients that I see.
Of
most
an
right.
efficient, intelligent network. Grazie. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everybody here in the audience. And thank you for being with us. We were talking about the strategic in our digital transformation like this. I would like to thank you very much. I would like to thank, of course, Antonella, Charles, Jimmy, Jan Hein, Paolo, and Ernst. We were closing off this day. I would like to thank Bartosz, colleague here, and make sure that I start and I in time. So if you want to be thankful for being on time for lunch and at the bar, it's him to thank. And of course, the gentleman in the back who makes this. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for making everything happen and flawless, as we would like to say. So with that, thank you so much. Tomorrow more to come, and stay tuned. And for now, I would say ciao. Thank you.